FAB-Racing British Mini Bikes Championship, the official partner series to the BSB. This is Cool Fab Racing. Live coverage all season on the Cool Fab Racing Facebook page and on the website coolfabracing.com.
Good morning, good afternoon, hello, wherever you are, what time it is, wherever you are in the world. We are ready for the second set of races, the first of Sunday's races, live from Milton Will in Northamptonshire for round 7 of the 2018 Cool Fab Racing British Mini Bikes Championships. We are just about to get underway with the first race of the day, the second race of the weekend for the Junior LC40 Elites, and we will be bringing you all of the action throughout today's two sets of races in what is the penultimate round of the 2018 Championship, round 7 of 8. In a few weekends' time, we'll be heading to Tattershall in Lincolnshire to end the season. But how will the championships all pan out? Well, we shall find out over the course of the two races today. My name is Dan Marr. Alongside me, as throughout 2018, is Kiko Giles. Kiko, first of all, the Junior LC40 Elites had some great racing yesterday. It was very, very close throughout the course of their 8-lap race.
Great racing all the way through yesterday's classes. The LC40 Elites actually, Case O'Gorman has a big chance to take the championship in the first race, which is coming up in a very, very short amount of time. Case O'Gorman with a 61-point lead in the championship over nearest rival Bailey Stewart Campbell. And Case O'Gorman definitely looking like the man to beat. Another win yesterday for him as well, extending that championship lead. Sullivan Mountain, Ryan Hitchcock joining him on the podium yesterday. The AC40 rookie race, again, Samuel Munson from pole position got a relatively good start. I say from pole position, from fourth on the grid, sorry. Ollie Horner from pole position got a relatively good start, but Samuel Munson came through the order like he normally does, and he would fire on away with the win despite Ruben Bray's best efforts to the line. It was a very close finish, but Ollie Horner completed the podium there. In the Mini GP50s, the championship is already wrapped up. Case O'Gorman was not on the start, so it gave everyone else a massive chance to prove themselves. Josh Bannister starting from pole did not make the best of his pole position chance. Josh Bannister slipped back to second. It was James Cook, brother of Max Cook, the British Talent Cup runner, who charged into the lead and pulled away pretty seamlessly. It was a rather dominant affair for James Cook, taking the win in convincing fashion. Josh Bannister and Emmanuel Brinton alongside him on the podium, despite Ryan Hitchcock's best efforts. So all kinds of shenanigans at the end of that race. Extreme 200s, that championship is starting to come to a close. Gareth Roberts now with a 76-point lead over Will Howarth. But in the race yesterday, it took us 3 starts to get underway. This crash that if you are tuning in on screen, you'll be able to see. Big pile-up at turn 1. We then had a second start, and again, another accident towards the far side of the course would eventually bring that one to an end. But after all of that, we did have a race, and race number 4 of the day, the third part of it, got underway. And it was, again, another cracker. That is absolutely certain. Everyone jockeying for position through these very, very tricky S's at start of the lap. They are not the easiest part of this circuit. It's a technical circuit here at Whilton Mill. To the line, though, it was a convincing victory once again for the front runner in that class. The Extreme 200s win being taken in great style. Sidecars, Mini F1 sidecars for the next outing. Mick Williams doing what he does best, and that was streaming off at the front, and he did that with relative ease. Mick Williams having to take off at the head of the field. It was Mick Lido who put in an impressive performance, starting from the back of the grid, made it to the podium, got into third place, and he remains in the championship race for second. He is third. The Mini GP 70s, the premier class of Cool Fab Racing, that championship could be wrapped up in the next race today. Casey O'Gorman with an 89-point lead. That was extended yesterday. He hit the front more or less straight away and cleared off with it. Great battles downfield. Evan Belford was for quite some time in the midst of it all, battling away with all kinds of different riders all the way through the grid, different riding styles all the way down the order, but no one could keep up with Casey O'Gorman. Casey O'Gorman took another win. Evan Belford was second, and that really was the story of the Mini GP 70s. In the AC40 Pros, a returning Johnny Garnis looking to try and stop the rot that Mason Foster has got on him at the moment, but Johnny Garnis not able to do so really. He took the lead early on. He nearly led for the full first lap, but it was Mason Foster who came through, and when Mason Foster hit the front, there was nothing that Johnny Garnis was able to do to really keep hold of him. Foster cruising to victory in the end by quite some margin indeed. Johnny Garnis was a very good second, but disaster struck Sullivan Mounsey on the last lap. Mounsey struggling home with an ill motorcycle. He did pick up points, finished 11th place, but the AC40 Pros podium was completed by Troy Jeffrey once more, race winner from round one. Sullivan Mounsey just about trundling across the line in 11th place, some 45 seconds back of race winner Mason Foster. The 140 PB140 and Moto Team event, well, that was a huge entry list, and none other than British Superbike star Bradley Ray in that one on his 125cc Suzuki. Somehow this massive field all snaked through their first lap relatively unscathed. It was a fantastic battle at the front. Max Cook and Charlie Nesbitt were head to head for the majority of it, and really that is what we came to see. But just as we thought we was in for a belter, the bit of traffic just got in the way of the leaders. Max Cook was thwarted at the first corner. Charlie Nesbitt was able to get past the traffic with relative ease. And at that point, we thought, well, this is it. It's all over. Max Cook has not got a chance. He's lost his opportunity now. But Charlie Nesbitt had a massive engine seizure with just 3 corners to go. And that allowed Max Cook to somehow take a win in that class. An unbelievable achievement from Max Cook. So yesterday's action all summed up relatively well. In the senior mini moto, just quickly, Will Howarth won from Richard Holmes Williams, and Ryan Grant losing the championship lead to Richard Holmes Williams, but it was very close indeed.
Well, yesterday's action, but now we head on to the first of Sunday's races with Casey O'Gorman and Bailey Stewart Campbell starting from the front row of the grid in the Junior LC40 Elite. Josh Bannister, Ryan Hitchcock on row 2, Mason Foster, Emmanuel Brinton, Sullivan Mounsey, Evan Belford, James Cook and Johnny Garnis, the top 10, with Troy Jeffrey, Luca Hopkins, Joe Farragher, Clayton Edmonds, Jamie Woodcock and Holly Harris rounding out the 16-strong grid. But as they are about to get underway for their race start in beautiful conditions in Whilton Mill, a little bit of wind but not a cloud in the sky as the riders raring to go for the first race of Sunday, the Junior LC40 Elite. The marshals now moving from the sides of the grid. The race start is just about to happen. They look up towards the red lights for the first time on Sunday. We wait for them to turn on the red lights. They're on now. The revs are up. We are underway, and a good start for Casey O'Gorman. Launches into the lead going into turns 1 and 2 for the first time out of 8. But for second place also seems to be the riders clearing off. It's 3rd and 4th, and then 5th, 6th, 7th and 8th, where there's a really big battle going into turn 3. There's a rider right around the outside on the left-hand side of the circuit trying to capture a couple of positions, and everyone's just trying to consolidate exactly where they stand in this opening half a lap into turn 6 for the first time. A right-handed hairpin. It's quite tight, but Casey O'Gorman has really launched off with a great start. Everyone else seemingly fighting for second place at the moment through turns 8.
Casey O'Gorman leading, and he's got a good gap back to nearest championship rival, Bailey Stewart Campbell. Now, Bailey Stewart Campbell, should Casey O'Gorman win this, needs to be no lower than 4th place. If he's 5th, it will be 75 points gap going into the next race, and that would give Casey O'Gorman a massive chance to wrap this championship up. It can't be won in this race alone, but Casey O'Gorman could do some massive damage really in this championship race indeed, and he's doing the damage at the moment into the opposition. He's leading. 2nd place, I believe that's Ryan Hitchcock. 3rd place is Bailey Stewart Campbell. Emmanuel Brinton's there in 4th place. They are very close together. 2nd back to about 8th place, 9th place, and Sullivan Moundsey and Johnny Garnis are on the back of the group too. So lots of big names all the way down the field, but Casey O'Gorman is streaking off at the front like he's done all season.
Bailey Stewart Campbell acting as a cork in a bottle at the moment. Into turns 9 and 10, left and then righter. Relatively tight chicane. You can take a few different lines through there before heading into the final corner. Such a quick one, and on riders left to a very big serrated curve. You don't want to be riding over that. Will be jiggling about, and is not a comfortable thing to do on one of these smaller bikes. But through turns 2 and 3 they're going now, and Ryan Hitchcock in 2nd place now. Bailey Stewart Campbell fighting in 3rd, but got Emmanuel Brinton and Josh Bannister for company as they make their way up towards turn 6 once again. 3.8 seconds in just 2 laps is the gap that Casey O'Gorman has managed to create. Might come down ever so slightly on this lap, but then again it's unlikely to, you would think as well. Emmanuel Brinton fighting tooth and nail for 3rd place, that final place on the podium into turns 8 now. Left and then right. It's a long old fling down a long straight before you head into the chicane once again. Emmanuel Brinton remaining in 4th, but Josh Bannister, James Cook, Evan Belford and Sullivan Moundsey, as well as Mason Foster and Johnny Garnes, all nose to tail as they head over the line once again.
Casey O'Gorman now with a 4.2 second lead ahead of Ryan Hitchcock and Bailey Stewart Campbell. Emmanuel Brinton there in 4th place. James Cook giving chase to him in 5th. It's a distant 6th at the moment for Josh Bannister. He's just ahead of Sullivan Moundsey. Evan Belford has come up into 8th ahead of Mason Foster, and it's Johnny Garnis who completes the top 10, and just behind them is Troy Jeffrey. But your lead and 11 are really miles clear of everyone else. It really is a top entry list into this junior LC40 elite class. Race 2 here. Casey O'Gorman leading Ryan Hitchcock to the tune of 4.3 seconds.
But Ryan Hitchcock has already pulled a few bike lengths on the rest of the pack. The battle for 3rd between Bailey Stewart Campbell and Emmanuel Brinton, with everyone else seemingly in tune with that as well. But Ryan Hitchcock riding quite sensibly, just a couple of machine lengths ahead. All you need to be, really, you need to make sure there's a bit of a gap so you can really start to move away from the rest of the riders. But coming through turns 2, the gap not quite so secure. Bailey Stewart Campbell with a decent run heading up to turn 3. Is he going to have an attack? Well, Emmanuel Brinton certainly is, into 4th place again, maintaining the position.
James Cook trying to go through on Emmanuel Brinton just there, not able to do it. Should we put the flag out now? Then Casey O'Gorman would have a 70-point lead going into race 3 this afternoon ahead of Bailey Stewart Campbell. A difference of 9 points at the moment at this race, but Bailey Stewart Campbell has just moved into 2nd place. The gap would now be 66. Bailey Stewart Campbell making headway just ahead now of Bailey Stewart of Ryan Hitchcock, and Emmanuel Brinton there in 4th place. This is a really more of a scrap for 2nd and 3rd place. I have a feeling 8 into 2 does not go. 5 to go.
Well, 5 to go. There's many more riders still fighting in that battle, as you mentioned, for 2nd place. The rider now back up into 2nd is Bailey Stewart Campbell, but it's turns 1 and 2 where Bailey doesn't get a particularly good run out of. Ryan Hitchcock, now with the benefit of the slipstream, going to have an attack. Again, Emmanuel Brinton under fire from James Cook. James making it through, but it's so topsy-turvy as one rider pulls slowly out of turns 4 and 5.
Ryan Hitchcock has retired there. He's got a problem.
He's carrying on, but very slowly at the moment. Could be heading into retirement. Hand in the air. Doesn't seem to be understanding why the bike isn't pulling. So, one contender out of that battle. A reprieve maybe for Bailey Stewart-Campbell for a lap or so. But James Cook now getting involved into 4th place. Was already broken. Really, Emmanuel Brinton is going to be following. How long can Emmanuel hold on to the pace? How long can Bailey Stewart-Campbell hold on to 2nd place? Now James Cook comes over the line. The gap between the pair of them, just 0.2 of a second. Not even that through turn number 2. Going to be used to slipstream, where James has had such a great run onto riders. Right-hand side, has got the inside line into turn number 3. Stops it on the apex, gets the move done, and just holds off Bailey Stewart-Campbell through the complex.
Sullivan Mounsey into 4th place as well, so Sullivan Mounsey there moving in to 4th place. Sullivan Mounsey was down in 7th on the grid. It'd be amazing if he could qualify. It'd be right up there from the side instead of giving him a whole shed load of work to do through the opening part of this race. But now he's attacking Bailey Stewart-Campbell. James Cook looking to try and break away from Bailey Stewart-Campbell. Sullivan Mounsey's going on the inside of Bailey Stewart-Campbell. At turn number 9, the tight left-hander before the loop back round towards the start and finish line. Couldn't get it done that time around, but Sullivan Mounsey is desperate to try and make his mark on a podium. He was 2nd yesterday. He wants that 2nd or 3rd if he can. Race leader, though, at the moment, and what looks like your certain race winner, Casey O'Gorman, 5.8 seconds in front of the chasing pack. James Cook is in 2nd. Sullivan Mounsey has now moved through into 3rd place. So Bailey Stewart-Campbell back to 4th. His championship is just slipping away now.
Well, it may well be slipping away. There's still time to try and make an impact, not only in this race, but in the 3rd race of the weekend. Later on this afternoon, full live coverage of that on the Cool Fab Racing website and on motorsport.radio. But James Cook into 2nd, 3rd for Sullivan Mounsey, 4th for Bailey Stewart-Campbell as they head through the chicane. But the last lap flag already being shown for your current race leader, Casey O'Gorman, with the fastest lap a few laps ago, a 54.551. Not the times being set from the chasing pack. James Cook in 2nd, 3rd for Sullivan Mounsey. This is when the attack is going to come from Bailey Stewart-Campbell out of turn number 2. Up to turn 3, can't quite make it work. James Cook remains 2nd. Sullivan Mounsey, though, with the best chance to try and get back onto the 2nd step of the podium. Can he do it with half a lap left to go, or will Bailey Stewart-Campbell launch an attack late on into this race?
Bailey Stewart-Campbell could do with that podium place. He needs to limit the damage that Casey O'Gorman is doing. O'Gorman is cleared off at the front. He is through the traffic. Bailey Stewart-Campbell's dropped it. Down at the... That is turn 7. Turn 8, sorry. Bailey Stewart-Campbell has dropped the bike out of 4th place, just pushing on to try and get ahead of Sullivan Mounsey. To the line, though, Casey O'Gorman. Well, that is just what O'Gorman needed. 2nd place to the line, James Cook. Sullivan Mounsey holds his 3rd. 4th place, we are awaiting some Emmanuel Brinton ahead of Josh Bannister and Mason Foster, as quick as all of that. 7th, Johnny Garnis. Bailey Stewart-Campbell is dropping down the order. He will come across the line, though, in 8th place, I think we've got. And that, to me, there's someone retired, looks to me like Evan Belford has got a problem. Down as he comes across the grass opposite, well, next to turn 1, that looks to me like Evan Belford. So whatever's gone on there, there's an issue. But race winner, Casey O'Gorman, 25 points. Bailey Stewart-Campbell with just 8 points. Now it's a difference of 17. The gap is now 78. So a win for O'Gorman today. Later on in race 3, coming up at 2 o'clock, would guarantee him the championship.
Well, a win there for Casey O'Gorman. One hand firmly on that championship trophy. Will that be decided? Later on this afternoon, we shall wait and find out. But a great race from James Cook and Sullivan Mounsey, fighting all the way through that race. Sullivan Mounsey having to make his way up through the grid. Initially, it was a good start from Bailey Stewart-Campbell, but couldn't quite hold on to the race lead. Challenging through turns 1 and 2. couldn't quite make it work. Casey O'Gorman doing what Casey does best, and 5.6 seconds was the gap between O'Gorman and James Cook in second. Sullivan Mounsey is in third, with Samuel... Well, now though, we do move on to the AC40 rookies. They head out on to circuit now. And as they make their way onto the warm-up lap then for the AC40 rookies, the grid will line up something like this. Well, yesterday's race, in fact, certainly was some fantastic action from Ruben Bray and Ollie Horner. They will start on the front row of the grid, with Henry McCartney and Samuel Munson on row 2. Row 3 will be Charlie Huntingford and Blake Wilson, with Archie Gibbs, Ollie Sims, William Harris and Warwick Brady your top 5 rows. Luke Fitchett and Luke Schofield are on row 6, with Violet Stainer, Joshua Williams and Luke Hutchinson rounding out the 15 strong grid for this second race of the weekend. And as they make their way now up towards the final few corners, and we shall have the race start in just a few moments' time. But thank you very much for joining us on the Cool Fab Racing websites, on motorsport.radio and on social media. Live coverage of round 7 of the 2018 Cool Fab Racing British Mini Bike Championships, the official partner series to the BSB and on the road to MotoGPs. And there's certainly the AC40 rookies in the first class, where we will see some of the next generation of talent coming from. The marshals now moving away from the sides of the grid. The race start is imminent. They look up towards then the start light gantry, where it's been a long hold for the last couple of races. Red lights are on, and then they go off pretty quickly. A good start from both riders on the front row of the grid, but it is side by side, in fact, going into turns 1 and 2 for the first time. The lead really being contested between Ruben Bray and Ollie Horner. They both made clean starts, but Henry McCartney and Samuel Munson, yesterday's race winner, trying to get well and truly stuck into the mix through 3, 4, 5 and 6. It's a long old complex of corners to really flick the bikes over, but into the hairpin for the first time of what will be an 8-lap race. So far, our race leaders making a good start of it. Ollie Horner coming under a real attack though. One rider running over the grass, albeit very briefly.
Ruben Bray leading this one then. Ruben Bray is your race leader. Ollie Horner's under massive pressure already. Samuel Munson already going past him. That's on the straight towards turn 9, the left-hander, before it flicks right and loops back round towards the start and finish line. But your race leader at the moment, it is Ruben Bray. Now, Ruben Bray had a very good race yesterday, was in second place, narrowly missed out on the race win that Samuel Munson took. But Samuel Munson now in second place ahead of Ollie Horner as they go up towards turn 3. Henry McCartney drawing alongside Ollie Horner on the brakes though. Ollie Horner's able to hold it as they flick right over the top of the circuit now before dropping back down. Ruben Bray under massive attack from, that is Samuel Munson. Munson not able to make it work this time. They threw the tight right-handed hairpin at turn 6.
They almost made contact, in fact, going through turns 4 and 5. The transition from left to right, very close stuff between the number 12 and the number 72, much like yesterday's racing. 1.5 laps already completed, and Ollie Horner again under attack, this time from Henry McCartney, trying to go around the outside into the left-hander and right-hander, the chicane, turn 9, before coming into the final corner. Couldn't quite make it stick, got good straight line speed, but doesn't seem to have the braking ability at the moment. Nose to tail, Ruben Bray, Samuel Munson, just 1/10 of a second over the line. They come through turn 2, they're side by side. Samuel Munson on rider's right-hand side had some very very good straight line speed in the early part of this race. Maybe not pushing it quite so hard into turn 3. Hasn't made the position, but they almost once again challenge for the race lead. Samuel Munson having a look up the inside. Once again though, could not make the position stick. Ruben Bray got very good defensive lines. All of this is still meaning Henry McCartney into third place. Ollie Horner, Charlie Huntingford also scrapping, and Ollie Horner will not want to miss out on a podium in this race, certainly.
Ruben Bray leading Samuel Munson. Third for Henry McCartney now, just got past. Ollie Horner is fourth. Charlie Huntingford having a fantastic weekend at the moment. He's almost on the inside at turn 9. Ollie Horner can't make it work, but Charlie Huntingford in the running for the points. For the podium. Ollie Sims is 6th. William Harris 7th. Archie Gibbs 8th. Luke Fitchett is 9th. Warwick Brady's 10th. Samuel Munson moves to into the lead at turn 2. Sides underneath Ruben Bray. Ruben Bray's having him back though. They're up the straight, neck and neck towards turn number 3, and cutting across the nose of Ruben Bray is Samuel Munson. Now Munson is leading, so Samuel Munson's done what he did yesterday, takes the lead with 5 laps to go. Will Ruben Bray be able to retaliate in any way, shape or form? We will see. The battle for third place is still raging though. Henry McCartney ahead of Ollie Horner and Charlie Huntingford. That is your top 5.
And a little further back, 6th place at the moment for Ollie Sims, who's got William Harris and Archie Gibbs for company. Those 3 were enjoying some great racing in yesterday's first race of the weekend. Ollie Sims, the number 73 rider, William Harris, the number 10, 6th and 7th as they head into the chicane, turns 9 left and then right. It's oh so close for the 3 riders who are barely separated by any gap at all. They're riding so close to each other, really enjoying some great scrapping. But at the moment, fastest lap for the race leader, Samuel Munson, on the half-distance lap. A 1:08.833 has opened up the gap to 0.359 ahead of Ruben Bray and Henry McCartney. Further down the order, it's Ollie Horner ahead of Charlie Huntingford and Ollie Sims. William Harris, Archie Gibbs, Luke Fitchett and Warwick Brady, your top 10. Luke Hutchinson in 11th ahead of Luke Schofield, Violet Stainer, Blake Wilson and Joshua Williams.
Samuel Munson just trying to pull away. Ruben Bray is in 2nd place. There's not much gap between them, but Samuel Munson definitely trying to stretch Ruben Bray. Ruben Bray doing a fantastic job at the moment and going with him. The remainder of the points are Henry McCartney in 3rd place ahead of Ollie Horner, 4th, Charlie Huntingford, Ollie Sims, William Harris, Archie Gibbs, Luke Fitchett in 9th place, completing the top 10 is Warwick Brady. Luke Hutchison is 11th place, Luke Schofield is 12th, Blake Wilson, Violet Stainer and Joshua Williams. They are the rest of your runners and riders, all of which are in the points. There's only 15 entrants for this race here at the moment, but Samuel Munson is leading Ruben Bray still as they're around the top of the circuit through the fast turn 6 now, as they all just about try and work each other out. Don't know whether Ruben Bray is trying to size up Samuel Munson, fancies a look behind him, see where he's strong, see where he's weak, see what he can do if it's a last lap, last corner scrap. Where is Ruben Bray going to be able to nab Samuel Munson, if anywhere, of course? Samuel Munson leading this race for a very good reason, and that is because he's your championship leader.
Well, they certainly had some great scrapping yesterday. They were sizing each other up, so they've already got that experience. It's just a case potentially of biding the time. The conditions a little warmer than yesterday's race. Through turns 1 and 2 again, 2 laps to go. 7 tenths separate our 2 race leaders. Henry McCartney 5.8 seconds behind Samuel Munson, 5 seconds behind Ruben Bray, with Ollie Horner and Charlie Huntingford still more or less there. They're not as close as they were a few laps ago, although they're still trying to size up a move. Ollie Horner qualified very well, and Henry McCartney, although a great defender and a great racer, may not be able to hold off a rider on a charge. Into turn 6, almost a move from the number 70, having a potential look at the inside at turn 6, rider's right hand side, to no great avail though. They're very close going through turns 7 and 8. They've just had to negotiate their way around another rider in this race, but this is all playing into the hands of Charlie Huntingford as well, side by side, and it's in fact Huntingford going through on rider's left hand side into the chicane. All of this though has got to hold on for one more lap. Our race leaders, Samuel Munson and Ruben Bray. 1.1 seconds is the gap between the pair of them. There could be an attack for the lead. It will come very late though. Third place, the one that they're all fighting for. McCartney, Huntingford now, and then Horner, third, fourth and fifth.
Samuel Munson leading then with half a lap really left to go through turn 5 down towards turn 6, the right-handed hairpin which feeds you back around the circuit to turn 7, a fast left, then it's the tightish left-hander turn 8 which sends you through a right-hander onto the back straight and then into the last complex. I do not think we're going to see a change in the leading two. It looks to me like Samuel Munson's got the job done. Ruben Bray is about 1.5 seconds now behind, so Samuel Munson, your championship leader, is only going to extend this championship lead through the final part of this course, through the final corner. He's going to come to the line. Samuel Munson is going to take yet another win in this class. He has been the cream of the class this year. Ruben Bray is second. Who's it going to be for third? Massive battle. Looks to me like Henry McCartney holds on. Ollie Horner takes fourth and Charlie Huntingford in fifth. In the end, not too many fireworks there, but what a result from Charlie Huntingford to complete the top 5. William Harris should be sixth ahead of Ollie Sims. Yes, he is. 7th and is Ollie Sims. 8th is Arch Gibbs. Luke Fitchett will be 9th, and completing the top 10 will be Warwick Brady. But great result from Samuel Munson. Extends his lead in the championship now to a healthy 33 points. It does mean the championship cannot be won today, but nonetheless, Samuel Munson has done the business. Fantastic stuff indeed.
So great result then from all of our riders. Samuel Munson taking another victory to add to the tally, with Ruben Bray, Henry McCartney in the top 3, Ollie Horner and Charlie Huntingford then 4th and 5th. William Harris, Ollie Sims, Archie Gibbs, Luke Fitchett and Warwick Brady your top 10, with Blake Wilson, Luke Hutchison, Luke Schofield, Violet Stainer and Joshua Williams rounding out the top 15. They did all come round and complete the race, so great for everyone to be out there. Some great action, and they will be back out in force later on at around 2:15. And you're listening to live coverage of round 7 of the 2018 Cool Fab Racing British Mini Bikes Championships.
This is the Cool Fab Racing British Mini Bikes Championship, the official partner series to the BSB. The original and best British championships for mini bikes. This is Cool Fab Racing.
On to circuit now, we have the Mini GP50s heading on to the race grid. Josh Bannister and James Cook due to start on the first row of the grid, with Emmanuel Brinton and Eddie O'Shea on row 2. Ryan Hitchcock and Dylan Mellor on row 3, with Ollie Walker, Mason Johnson, Kyle Payne, Harrison Desoy your top 10. Then got Lucas Brown, Alfie Davidson, Harrison Crosby, Alessandro Valente and James Rose, the top 15, with Jimmy Parker, Thomas Gomez, Cameron Saul, Ben Joliffe, Tyler Watson, Mikey Hardy, Taylor Stewart Campbell and Harrison McKay starting in 23 positions. That is your grid. They're about to get underway. There is no Casey O'Gorman, the championship already having been sealed for the number 7 rider, so everyone else now with an opportunity to get some good points. The number 43, that of Ryan Hitchcock, had a slight problem with the clutch, although he is looking like he's going to be ready for the start. The revs build, looking towards the lights. Takes a long time for the lights to come on. They go out now though. It's a good start from the first row of the grid. Josh Bannister into the lead as they head through turns 1 and 2 for the first time out of 12, being followed very closely by James Cook though, going to have a go potentially on Ryder's left hand side into turn 3. It's a large entry, trying to go the long way around as it transitions into a left-handed corner. It's a long old wait to try and get everyone through, but they do so cleanly. But into turn 6, Josh Bannister already on the defensive from James Cook. Emmanuel Brinton into 3rd place, could also be challenging for that race lead. All the riders in one long stream through turns 7 and 8 for the first time out of 12. So far for Josh Bannister, touch wood, so good, Kiko.
Josh Bannister leading James Cook, then it's Emmanuel Brinton. Eddie O'Shea makes the start for this race, of course didn't start yesterday's race, so he's got a point to prove. In 5th place, I think that's Ryan Hitchcock, I'm not quite sure, we'll get them across the line, but either way, your race leader, no doubt about that, Josh Bannister. James Cook trying to go through on the inside, now switches to the outside to get the run up towards turn 3, all the way up there. Josh Bannister though riding brilliantly, looking for his first win in this class this year. James Cook was your winner yesterday. Emmanuel Brinton riding very, very well in 3rd place, and in 4th place is Eddie O'Shea. The leading group of 5 are all together. Ryan Hitchcock trying to push his way through on Eddie O'Shea and does so. So it's a 10-wheeler at the front and it's being headed by Josh Bannister, although that could change any moment now.
It was very close. They were almost tripping over each other going into turn number 6 for the second time. As they make their way into the chicane though, it's strung out just a little bit, enough perhaps to get some breathing space for Josh Bannister, who's got James Cook all over the back. So they come over the line again, pulling side by side. Ryder's right hand side for the number 44 in 2nd place. That's James Cook. Your race leader is Josh Bannister, but it's going a little bit wider, inviting James potentially to have a look at the inside, to no avail on this particular lap. Emmanuel Brinton still into 3rd. 4th place is Ryan Hitchcock with the fastest lap on that last lap, only a couple of thousandths really quicker. But James Cook with an audacious move around the outside going into turn number 6, a great move. Left it as late as he dared on the brakes, running over the curb and all of the available grip and then some to take the race lead with an emphatic move on Ryder's left hand side. You don't have that very often, but that's really confident stuff from the number 44 rider. I suppose Josh Bannister will go wow and then won't realise he's actually in 2nd place now.
Just goes to show that James Cook has obviously got brilliant pace here. He pulled away fairly easily yesterday. I'm not sure if it's going to happen today. Josh Bannister's trying to go with him, so Josh Bannister looking to get to that place back. James Cook has looked good through that turn 4 and 5 sequence, which gives him a nice fast run into turn 6, faster than his competitors. So James Cook leads ahead of Josh Bannister. Ryan Hitchcock is now 3rd. Emmanuel Brinton is into 4th place. Eddie O'Shea is still 5th. In 6th place we've got Mason Johnson. He's under pressure from Dylan Mellor. Ollie Walker is there in 8th place. 9th place at the moment is Alfie Davidson, and Kyle Payne is in 10th. That is your top 10 at the moment, but your race leaders are James Cook and Josh Bannister. They are still head to head and in the battle together with 9 laps to go. This race looks like we're in for a belter.
Always great racing in the Mini GP categories, none so more than perhaps in this first race for them today, race 2 of the weekend, round 7 of the championship. James Cook with the fastest lap, 53.114, just 300ths quicker than Josh Bannister. Their gap is only 0.285 over the line. Not that coming into turn 3, they were absolutely side by side. Ryan Hitchcock too, also side by side, not only with Emmanuel Brinton but also with Eddie O'Shea. They're all fighting tooth and nail, but Eddie and Emmanuel both struggling to get out of turn number 3, losing a bit of time, giving well, it's been given our race leader Ryan Hitchcock a reprieve, but it's also getting close. This is inviting Mason Johnson and Dylan Mellor into the battle as well.
Eddie O'Shea into 4th place. Emmanuel Brinton touched the back of Ryan Hitchcock at turn 3, and it just wrecked Emmanuel Brinton's run out of turn 3, gave Eddie O'Shea the position. So Eddie O'Shea into 4th place ahead of Emmanuel Brinton, so Brinton's got some work to do again. Across the line, again we go with your leaders, and it's still James Cook and Josh Bannister, and now in 3rd place Ryan Hitchcock, 4th Eddie O'Shea, Emmanuel Brinton 5th. In 6th, as we've already said, Mason Johnson is starting to close in with Dylan Mellor and Ollie Walker. So some great scrapping all the way down the field, and through at turn 3 goes Eddie O'Shea on Ryan Hitchcock. So Eddie O'Shea having a brilliant season so far, his debut season in the Mini GP 50s. Ryan Hitchcock's going to take that place back though. Turn 6 hairpin, block pass, pushes Eddie O'Shea out wide. So Eddie O'Shea had that 3rd momentarily, but it was only on loan as Ryan Hitchcock takes it back. We've got a brilliant scrap here for 3rd place. I have a feeling 3 into 1 isn't going to go. Your race leaders, James Cook and Josh Bannister, are in a class of their own. They're coming to the line now.
Well, over the line, they almost had a position swap heading into the chicane on the last lap. Such a great run from Josh Bannister out of turn 8, although couldn't quite make it stick. They are still then your race leaders halfway through this race. James Cook, Josh Bannister, 1st and 2nd. Ryan Hitchcock in 3rd, but not for much longer. Eddie O'Shea on Ryder's right-hand side up to turn number 3. They almost touch at the apex as they're trying to fight it out for that final spot on the podium. Emmanuel Brinton sitting back a bit at the moment, just waiting to see what may happen and pick up any pieces if needs be. We've also got to change Dylan Mellor through on Mason Johnson. Ollie Walker getting involved with that scrap as well at turn 7. Then you've got Alfie Davidson, Carl Payne, Alessandro Valente all fighting it out as well.
Looks to me like Josh Bannister has got a bit of a strong point at turn 6. He's not running as wide as James Cook has for the last few laps. So Josh Bannister, turn 6 he's very good at, and out of turn 8 and 9. So the left-hander at turn 8 and the short flick right at turn 9. So that looks to me like Josh Bannister's, that middle infield part of this circuit looks to be his strong point. He may well use that to his advantage if it comes down to a last lap scrap. But we're at turn 6 with them now. James Cook leading, Josh Bannister still in 2nd. Again, James Cook just running out a bit wide, a bit more wide each, a bit wider each time, just giving Josh Bannister a chance to close in. And again, bad run out of turn 9 really. He's wide at turn 8. That ruins his run down the straight. And Josh Bannister's able to close up, but he's not able to pass. It's one thing catching and another thing passing, as we always say. Ryan Hitchcock still under pressure from Eddie O'Shea and Emmanuel Brinton in 3rd place. In 4th and 5th, that is the battle there. 6th is Dylan Mellor now. Josh Bannister has just come across the line with the fastest lap of the race. The gap is down to just a quarter of a second. Josh Bannister's slow in. Josh Bannister is slow in. That is on the exit of turn 2 up towards turn 3. Not sure if he missed a gear or anything like that, but he's definitely lost a load of time. So James Cook, has he been let off the lead here? Is this his time to make or break?
Well, for the last few laps, even though Josh Bannister had started to reel him in, James Cook had just quicker lap times, so that was all that was keeping him ahead. But Ryan Hitchcock in 3rd place, all again side by side with Eddie O'Shea, trying to look Eddie is around the outside at turn 6 and 7, converted that to the inside line at turn 7, briefly had the position, and then Ryan Hitchcock gets it back through. But as they made their way through turn 6 just a couple of corners ago, they were side by side. A poor run from Ryan Hitchcock. That just lost him the podium, albeit briefly, and as they head over the line, no further changes in that battle, but it is very, very close. Ryan Hitchcock 3rd ahead of Eddie O'Shea and Emmanuel Brinton, but they are very, very close, almost riding pillion with each other, making their way towards turn 3 once again. Ryan Hitchcock up the hill. It's a struggle to get a bike up here. Eddie O'Shea gets a better run through with the slipstream, can't quite convert that to a challenge at the moment.
Mason Johnson just on the inside of Ollie Walker, takes the place at turn 3. Lovely little move, slips it through on the inside. So Mason Johnson back into 7th place now, will set his sights on Dylan Mellor. The battle for 3rd is at the moment being won by Ryan Hitchcock. 4th is Eddie O'Shea. There is absolutely nothing between them, and Emmanuel Brinton just sitting in 5th, waiting to pick up any pieces should there be any left for him. Penultimate lap started for James Cook. Josh Bannister's across the line. The gap is 3.1 seconds.
Well, very much opened up over the last few laps. They could be set over the course of this race, and side by side with another rider in this race goes this battle for third place. Ryan Hitchcock, Eddie O'Shea both through. Emmanuel Brinton though had to wait through turns 1 and 2 to make it through, so that is offered both Hitchcock and O'Shea a bit of a gap. They can really duke it out for the pair of them heading into turn 6. Once again, it's a black bike, Ryan Hitchcock in third place, then it's the green and grey machine of Eddie O'Shea in fourth place. It's not changed really over the course of the last few laps. It could all change though with a lap and a half left to go. Not even a lap and a half left to go for our race leader. Heading up towards the line now, takes the final lap flag, and that starts the one final tour for James Cook. 1.2 kilometres to go.
Got a faller at the exit of turn number 7. Not sure who rider is up and okay. Bike slid for a week though before it was picked up by a marshal. The main thing is the rider is okay. Not quite sure who it is though. At the front, James Cook has done everything right. He's just about broken Josh Bannister. Josh Bannister stabs a quick look over his shoulder on the short straight between 5 and 6. James Cook though, at the moment is leading. He's at turn 8. Change the position for 7th place. Mason Johnson gets back ahead of Ollie Walker, but we're coming down now into the final section. Eddie O'Shea is into 3rd place at turn 6, but your race leader, James Cook, 1 corner to go. He's through the final couple of corners now. He will come onto the straight. He's going to take his 2nd win of the weekend. James Cook is his 2nd win, his first on Sunday. Josh Bannister is 2nd, but we've got this scrap for 3rd place to deal with now. Ryan Hitchcock just about heading home. Eddie O'Shea, is Eddie O'Shea going to make onto the podium? It's going to be a run to the line, which Ryan Hitchcock's going to win. Ahead of Eddie O'Shea, and Emmanuel Brinton takes 5th place. Dylan Mellor 6th, and Mason Johnson home in 7th, beats Ollie Walker. 9th place, Harrison Crosby, Alfie Davidson in 10th. Thomas Gomez from 17th on the grid just gets to the fringes of the top 10 to 11th. Volante, Kyle Payne, Harrison Desoy and Jimmy Parker on his return to racing takes the final point just ahead of Cameron Sewell. What a race.
Well, great race from the Mini GP50s. It's all started, well, at the start 12 laps ago. Great start from Josh Bannister and James Cook. They'd been fighting over the first few laps, but then after missing a gear, we suspect for Josh Bannister, that's what separated overall the race lead for James Cook. The number 44 to take another great victory this weekend, but it wasn't just a battle for the race lead. Ryan Hitchcock, Eddie O'Shea and Emmanuel Brinton all very, very close over the course of the 12 laps. Ryan making a good few positions from the start. Started 5th, ended up into 3rd place. Eddie O'Shea aboard the 114, continuing some great run of results as well. We now, though, turn our attention to the Extreme 200s as they are about to make their way onto the grid here for round 7 of the 2018 Cool FAB-Racing British Mini Bike Championships. And thank you very much for joining us on the Cool FAB-Racing website, on motorsport.radio and on social media. Please do keep leaving your comments. Let us know who you're supporting. If you're a friend, family member, whomever, let the whole world know how fantastic the Cool FAB-Racing is. Please do keep sharing, liking, whatever you're doing on social media. But the Extreme 200s on to the grid now. And it will be Charlie Nesbitt and Richard Holmes-Williams who are due to start on pole on the front row of the grid, with Elliot Pinson and Brad Ray on row 2. Gareth Roberts and Josh Watley are on row 3, with Tom Wheaton, Elliot Dufton, Jack Scott and Chloe Jones to top 10. Will Howarth, Brandon Payne, Patrick O'Connor, Alex Vella, Brandon Perrell, Tom Orland, the top 16. Josh Ingram, Callum Beach, Felix Hearn and Jamie King rounding out the top 10 rows. Harvey Claridge, Josh Alder, Breeze Garland, Craig Walker, Callum Whitebrow, Elliot Lodge, Ian Jackson, Liam Fairbrother, Joe Duggan and Sean Whittaker. That is your 30 strong entry, a very large entry for this weekend's Extreme 200s. And Kiko Giles, a familiar name both to fans of the BSB and to the Cool FAB-Racing paddocks. We do have Mr. Bradley Ray here this weekend.
We do have Mr. Brad Ray here. Brilliant to have the number 28 with us, as it is brilliant to have Alex Vella with us. Had a message off him this morning. He was rushed to hospital yesterday with a kidney infection, and he's still riding here today. We've just seen him wheelie past our commentary position, so kudos to Alex Vella there. He's not the only one who had a kidney infection, actually. Peter Hickman rode at Thruxton with a kidney infection. So, obviously, kidney infections, and that didn't do him bad. He had a couple of podiums at Thruxton. So, Alex Vella, what could he magic out of here today? Maybe it's good luck to have a kidney infection. I could think of better things to have, though.
Well, do hope Alex Vella gets better very soon. Looks like Bradley Ray's actually starting towards the back of the grid, not on the second row of the grid, but as everyone gets ready, just having a quick word with race control to make sure everyone is lined up correctly. They look now towards the start lights, so it is going to be Charlie Nesbitt and Richard Owens-Williams looking towards the first corner. The revs are up. It took us 3 attempts to finish this race yesterday. Let's hope it's not the same today. Into turns 1 and 2 for the first time. Everyone being quite tentative through there. And a great start from Charlie Nesbitt. Launches off to the head of the field. Richard Holmes-Williams coming under attack though. And the battle for third could be Elliot Pinson. Gareth Roberts also getting involved. A few riders going down at turn 3. One running wide. One is up though, getting back onto the bike it seems. Get more information on that in just a few minutes time.
Alex Vella's down. Alex Vella's the one who's gone down. The bike is on the edge of the circuit. I honestly can't believe what I'm doing to riders this weekend. Alex Vella is on the floor. He is hurt. Moving about. Bike
and red flags are coming out. Red flags are coming out.
Red flag is out. We have a red flag situation. Alex Vella, on his return from hospital, has gone down at turn 3. I think he just got caught up in a bit of a melee, pushing and shoving. But Alex Vella is down, hopefully not too badly injured. Bikes will return to their starting positions, but we will have a red flag situation.
We are currently under red flags. Second race of the weekend for the Extreme 200s. We had 3 attempts at the race yesterday. Hopefully we don't get the same today. But as we are in a brief red flag situation, you're listening to live coverage of round 7 of the 2018 Cool Fab Racing British Mini Bike Championships. Thank you very much for joining us on the Cool Fab Racing website, on motorsport.radio, and as well on social media with our fantastic visual radio stream. We've got plenty of your comments, Kiko. I think always get some great comments coming in from people. Who are they supporting this weekend?
Sue Bray says, well done to Reuben Bray and Henry McCartney. They are only 6 years old. I never knew they were that young. Unbelievable achievement then from you two of the main championship contenders in the AC40 rookies. Gloucester bike specialists are cheering on Gareth Roberts and Brendan Perrell. Then we've got Angela Sofia Braga saying good luck to Thomas Gomez. Becca Maynard is cheering on Gareth Roberts from Spain. Chloe Finn is saying go Casey. We assume that's Casey O'Gorman. Aaron Dufton is cheering on Elliot Dufton, and everyone else just saying hello and giving us the thumbs up. Brilliant to have you on board with us for the 2018 Cool Fab Racing British Mini Bikes Championship, coming here live from round 7 in Northamptonshire in Whilton Mill.
1.2 kilometre circuit has provided some fantastic action. Also a local circuit for many people, I believe. That many of our riders here from these paddocks come quite often to the Whilton Mill circuit as a testing venue. I know that many people based further up in the north use the Three Sisters circuit in Wigan. And in fact, if you are listening or been viewing the stuff from the season so far, I've been thinking, actually, how might I be able to get involved with the action? Well, you can head over to the Cool Fab Racing website, where you can find out all of the information on our respective classes. It isn't just the juniors which race. For example, these Extreme 200s raced by some of the adults in the category. And it's going to be the Extreme 200s which are just under a brief red flag. We'll get back underway with the action from them very shortly indeed. But as a reminder, what have we still got to come this morning and indeed this afternoon? This is just the second set of races from the from the 7th round of the championship. We've got another set of races to come this afternoon. And it will include the Mini F1 sidecars will be the next set of races after the Extreme 200s get away once again. The Mini GP70s will then head out after the Mini F1 sidecars. They're due out at 11:40 and 12 o'clock respectively. We were running a little early, and hopefully we do continue to stay on time. Great work as ever, and a big thank you to all of the marshals and the medics, as well as race control, for the smooth running of the season. So after they've been out, the AC40 Pros are due to be out next. Then it's the Pit Bike 140 and Moto teams. Then it's the Senior Mini Motos to bring us into around 5 to 1, and that will bring us into the lunch break, where we'll have just a quick time to have a breather before the third and final set of action comes along from this afternoon, starting with the Junior LC40 Elites. But that's all still to come here at Whilton Mill. Round 7 of the 2018 Cool Fab Racing British Mini Bikes Championship.
This is the Cool Fab Racing British Mini Bikes Championship, the official partner series to the BSB. This is the Cool Fab Racing British Mini Bikes Championship, the official partner series to the BSB.
Round 7 of the 2018 Cool Fab Racing British Mini Bike Championships. Thank you very much for tuning in on the Cool Fab Racing website on motorsport.radio and on social media for live coverage of the penultimate round of the 2018 season from Whilton Mill in Northamptonshire. Bright blue skies, there's not a cloud in the sky, which is great to have after the heavily rain-affected last few rounds. It's been basking in the sunshine, some great racing, including in yesterday's Extreme 200 race, the first of 3 races for the weekend. We're currently just under a red flag for the Extreme 200 race 2. And it actually took 3 attempts to finally get the race completed yesterday in the Extreme 200s, Kiko. 2 red flags, including a big crash at the start of the first attempt. 1 or 2 stalling as they made their way through for the first time. Well, there's the contact. A few falling, unfortunately. We've gone on the way for the second time. And this time, they all managed to make it through just about. Turns 1 and 2 cleanly. It's a very tricky first couple of corners. Deceptively tight turn number 2. Running over the serrated curbing, you really do not want to be doing that. It's very bouncy stuff. Few of the riders going so wide they just missed the curbing completely. But then, red flag called again. And then for the third and final time in race 1, we got on the way. Everyone did continue round. We did get a race in our belts, and in the end it was a great victory by, well, it was a great victory nonetheless in that particular race, and it was Richard Holmes-Williams who won ahead of Josh Watley. And there were, well, this is the start of race 2. And as you may be able to see if you're tuned in on social media to our visual radio streams, I would highly suggest you do some fantastic camera action, but then the red flag called. And, well, in yesterday's race, Richard Holmes-Williams had won, but there were penalties for the number 59, the number 24, the number 7, and the number 147, which are 10-second penalties for exceeding track limits, which is not a particularly good sign. You don't often hear that at karting circuits, but as you may have seen on the visual radio stream, riders go so wide out of the final corner over the serrated curbing, more or less going up to the wall and then back across. It's not really what you want to be doing, but there are a number of spots here, Kiko, where you can just run a little bit wider and you can actually gain time, including on the exit of turn number 6.
I like in brackets, we've got a note on our sheet here, it says a number of occasions. So obviously people taking liberties. We've actually got quite a lot of Extreme 200 notes. You could write a book with all of them. We've got the other one is riders with no clearly visible front number plates will not start the race. So obviously Extreme 200s needing a bit of rules and regulations to guide them through the weekend. But no doubt the Extreme 200 is a great championship, one of the faster categories here this weekend at Cool Fab, as we just wait for the old comments to upload and update here. Keep them coming in though whilst I go and find them. Join our conversation, get your thoughts in. Let us know who you're supporting. That's what we really want to know. A lot of support for Gareth Roberts, especially from Spain, coincidentally enough. So, Gareth Roberts, the Spanish branch of your fan club, obviously in full party mode at the moment. Great stuff indeed.
Well, please do keep leaving all your comments, sharing all of the streams over social media. Thank you very much for joining us for live coverage of round 7 of the championship. We've got one more round to go after this weekend at Tattersall in Lincolnshire in around 4 or 5 weekends' time. Not too long until we start seeing many of the championships really being decided. We've already had one decided before we came into this race meeting even, and that was Casey O'Gorman taking the championship in the Mini GP50s, then electing not to race in the category this weekend. Really just taking a bit of a break, especially after having 6 race meetings where you've been riding on 3 different bikes. Can get quite tiring, and I know many have suggested it's quite a difficult feat, but really to show the quality of Casey O'Gorman, just how he could continue to do so.
Joined by the Koala, as we've been able to nickname you apparently. If you just take my headset and explain to everyone why that is. Try not to get too much sweat on it though.
So if you just want to come and jump on and let us know, first of all, who you are. You are live, so please do not swear, / any other sort of stuff along that regards. But let us know who you are, because whilst we might know who you are, our listener may not be so, no.
Hi, so my name's Sam Clowes. I race in the Pit Bike 140 Championship. Currently running in 3rd in the Championship. And I do other racing in other places as well, CB 500 and other things, so yeah.
So what brings you to the Cool Fab paddock? What specifically brings you upstairs into race control? And I do hope it's not exceeding track limits.
No, it's not exceeding track limits. It's just letting the guy who's crashed his girlfriend know what's going on and stuff like that and everything, so yeah.
Okay, so of course, just in a red flag period for the Extreme 200s, a very large entry this weekend, which is a bit of a change from last time out at Glenigors and in the class you are in, the Pit Bike 140s, where it's had a little smaller entry for GYG. It was a shame. It's a great circuit, but a fantastic entry here at Whilton Mill. I suppose it's very convenient for many of our riders to get to.
Well, yeah, that's the thing. GYG, fortunately for me, is a brilliant circuit, and it's got brilliant corners up and down and everything. Whereas Whilton Mill, it's still a brilliant circuit. It's just central in the country, and everyone likes it, and it's just the right time of year, I guess, and stuff like that. But yeah, we always get a good turnout here. 35 on the grid, I believe, for the Pit Bike 140 and Moto team. And it's unfortunately for me, I've had a few problems with the bike this weekend, but hopefully I'll get better with the race 2 and race 3.
And it's been really competitive with the Moto team riders in as well. Some race meetings are not quite as close to the pit bikes, but then here at Whilton Mill, it seems to be such a quick circuit, it really brings the best out of the Moto team riders as well.
Oh yeah, definitely. With the Moto team bikes, they especially like the fast flowing corners, whereas the pit bikes favour the stop-start. Especially at the next meet in Tattershall, you'll see the gap open up again between the Pit Bike 140 and Moto team. But here, like Will Howarth showing, you can really mix it in with the Moto team and Pit Bike 140s, especially around Whilton Mill, GYG, Rara, another good one. So yeah.
Well, it's good that it sort of ebbs and flows over the course of the season for everyone to get some great racing in with a multi-class series as well. Not quite often you really get that, is it? No,
it's really good fun as well. Just mixing it in with a few extra people. Like the race 1 of yesterday, I think there was about 7 or 8 of us all in a train, mixing it up, and it was really good fun.
Including one Brad Ray.
Yeah. It's always good to be racing with the likes of Brad and stuff, because you know where they're going to go exactly. It does take the mick a little bit really when they're looking around over the shoulder and they're sticking the tongue out at you, and you know that they're just having a bit of laugh and a good laugh for you.
I suppose. Well, he kept honking his horn throughout the race yesterday. I don't know. Were you one of those who was directing the honk at, or?
You never can tell with Brad, to be fair. I think he just has a bit of a laugh halfway around the circuit and just fancies pressing a few buttons, to be fair.
Mate, see, it must be a case of he's like, come on, can you go a bit quicker, mate? I'm trying to win a race here.
Yeah, you do sometimes think that. And I know a few of the start line marshals are getting annoyed with him honking the horn at them as well.
It's just waiting. It's I know in Formula 1 recently, in the broadcast, they've been putting a horn in for the lights when they start to come on. He was doing the same thing as you were trying to urge them on to try and get ready. But in sweltering conditions like this, I suppose it must be difficult for you as well, you know, in full leathers and high vis as well.
Oh, definitely. Especially in the all black leathers with black top underneath. It does tend to get a bit hot and definitely sweaty. But yeah, I could sweat in the Arctic, never mind in heat like this. But yeah, it's good fun.
And for the rest of the weekend, then you've got 2 races to look forward to. What are you expecting? How did you qualify?
So I qualified 19th on the grid, on the combined grid. I got 7th, I believe, in class yesterday, having a really good race with Felix Hearn, and on the back of Blake Ansell as well. Hopefully same again today, maybe improve that a little bit and just aim for a better lap time, really. That's all I can ask for.
And of course, the Clowes, there's no strangers to Motorsport Radio. You guys often leave comments on the streams. It's great to have you with us, but it's not just you here racing, of course, is it? There's more than one of the family.
No, it's old man Clowes, Simon Clowes on the Moto team. Before this weekend, he was leading the Moto team championship. I believe now he's second in the championship, possibly behind Will Howarth. So yeah, we'll see how that goes on this weekend.
And best of luck to your father as well then.
Yeah. But all luck to him. Hopefully, I can beat him in the second and third race as well. I believe I got in front of him on race 1. So yeah.
Well, we've been joined by many different riders. If you do want to come and join us upstairs in the commentary box, we're in the porter cabin right next to race control, and you can see we've got some great riders here to come and join us in, including we've got one other visitor. Come on, in you come.
Go on, Charlie.
Come on, Charlie.
Okay, thank you.
No, Charlie Nesbitt not wanting an interview. No.
I'm going to leave it all for Sam.
He's leaving it all for Sam Clowes, he's telling us, so we'll try and drag him in a few moments' time anyway, in the lovely conditions here at Whilton Mill. You're listening to live coverage of round 7 of the 2018 Cool Fab Racing British Mini Bike Championship. Thank you very much to Sam for coming to join us. Great to have the Clouses here, and believe a few of the riders just making their way back into the paddock. We're still under red flag conditions for the second race of the Extreme 200, although of course the Mini GP 70s had some great racing yesterday as well. We'll just have a quick look at some of their highlights over the course of the race yesterday. And as they headed through turns 1 and 2 for the first time, it was very close competition, although Casey O'Gorman subsequently running away with it. Some great scraps for the podium. And it's certainly some fantastic racing we've had from Whilton Mill. It's a really very fast circuit which invites many riders to try and push just that little bit harder. Some great racing. The final lap flag was out, and then eventually that was a race victory. But we are still in red flag conditions for the second Extreme 200 race of the weekend. And the Pit Bike 140 and moto teams, including one Sam Clowes we've just heard from. Thank you very much. If you do want to come upstairs to the commentary box, please do come and say hello through turns 1 and 2, including one Brad Ray. Of course, sadly no horn in these clips, probably for the best, to be honest. I know a few of the riders were not particularly amused as they were racing, but for that particular race it was very, very close, and well, it ended eventually. We'll just grab the quick results here now, but some great racing from all of our classes yesterday. Moto team won by Will Howarth ahead of Brad Ray and Jason Pugh. In the Pit Bike 140s, we had the likes of Max Cook really getting in some great racing with Charlie Nesbitt, Harvey Claridge well and truly involved in there as well. A great scrap throughout the course of the race, and a great scrap throughout the course of the season, Kiko Giles. Senior Mini Motos had such that moment back at GYG, and Whilton Mill promising also for some great action, Kiko.
Whilton Mill, an absolute thrilling circuit, it really must be said. It's got a bit of everything, lots of fast corners, quite a lot of tight corners, but there's no real dead stop corners. There's a chicane that ends the lap. But now, all in all, Whilton Mill has been quite phenomenal. The Senior Mini Moto race from yesterday was something we didn't quite get around to earlier before we headed off with today's racing action. Good racing all round. Rich Holmes-Williams and Will Howarth going for that victory indeed. Richard Holmes-Williams in the end finishing second to Will Howarth. Will Howarth cleared off after a little incident for Rich Holmes-Williams. Ryan Grant, your championship leader at the time, was third. But of course he loses the championship lead now. Richard Holmes-Williams leads by 3 points for the championship lead. So Richard Holmes-Williams first by 3 points, and then Will Howarth is 21 behind your championship leader. So great stuff all the way down the order in Cool Fab. It's more to just the kids racing. It really is a great family kind of feel about this circuit as well. Everyone's coming to the end of the season now. This is the penultimate round. There's a couple more parties going on. It really is a great part of Cool Fab culture just to sit out with loads of different people you might not have seen in a while, or people who are there every weekend. The same old faces keep on cropping up.
Well, same old faces keep on cropping up, but we so often get new riders in the paddocks, and there are plenty of ways, Kiko, for people to get involved. But how, if you're tuned in now thinking, actually this looks quite fun, I'd like to have a go, maybe my son or daughter would like to have a go, maybe yourself or a family member, whoever you know might be interested in having it a bit of a try, how would they actually get involved with the series? How can they find out more information?
You got to really get involved with Cool Fab, message them and just say, listen, I've got a young talent here, I want to showcase it to thousands of people through the coverage that we bring them. On track, we think they're very, very good, could be one of Britain's next biggest prospects. Get in touch with Roger Keys, and I'm sure they will be more than happy to accommodate even more talent. Of course, the Cool Fab Racing Championship, abundant with talent year after year. New talent comes along, old talent comes back. It's a brilliant, brilliant feel. And
it's not just young talent that we have here at the Cool Fab. We've got racing for both the seniors and the kids. Don't mix them together. We've got loads of great racing for all of them, though. So head over to the Cool Fab Racing website for all the information on how you can get signed up. Head over to social media as well, where you can find out more, including the Cool Fab Racing Parents page, where they've got pretty much everything for sale. If you're looking for a motorhome, or if you're looking for a bike, or just any spares, or any help or advice, I'm sure if you ask to join that group, you should be able to find out more information on that. And you can even come and attend a Cool Fab Race meeting in person. It is free to attend. We are here at Whilton Mill near Daventry for the 7th round of the championship. We move to Tattershall in Lincolnshire in just a few weekends' time. The first weekend in October, where you can also turn up and have a watch for free. We'll have full trackside commentary from myself, Dan Marr, and Kiko Giles, so plenty of great ways to tune in to the action. And, well, some fantastic racing yesterday, and there's some fantastic moments in the commentary as well. It's great to have Kiko Giles joining me. You can see on the screen, if you're tuned in on the visual radio stream, myself on the left-hand side of the picture, Kiko on the right. I think I noticed a wasp had flown into the commentary box, and then the moment where the wasp, you can actually see the wasp coming in, and then Kiko Giles, all 6'2" of him, then jumping out of the commentary box like an alley cat, really. Not a great moment for yourself there, Kiko, but wasps are quite scary. We've got some
nosy parkers popping in as well around the corner as well. We won't give them any names.
Well, we've get many people coming and wandering, looking into the commentary box, but even the occasional bit of wildlife. But it is.
We should clarify, it wasn't Roger being a nosy parker. That was really bad time.
It wasn't Roger Keys, no, it wasn't Roger Keys. But just whilst we're still under the red flag conditions, would like to say a big thank you to all of the marshals and the medics out there who are working tirelessly to get us back racing as soon as we can. It's been hard work over the course of the weekend in very warm conditions, so wanted to say a big thank you to all of you out there who give so much of their time away to motorsport. And, well, it's not just Cool Fab Racing that we have on Motorsport Radio. We have the Superbike Show with Lester Forbes and Kiko Giles, and with every week always packed with great content and loads of great interviews, including, I believe, Kiko, a few from Silverstone.
Well, we had a few from Silverstone. It's the most action they got, I think, besides actual Silverstone. They had nothing on Sunday, so they made up for it. Coming on the show on Thursday night, we had Josh Owens of the GP2 class in Britain. Wildcard appearance, a very, very, very respectable wildcard appearance at the British Grand Prix at Silverstone. And Jake Archer, championship leader from the Motorstar Championship in the UK as well. And I believe Josh Owens is just around the corner.
So, Josh Owens on the Superbike Show.
Fingers crossed. Let's not do a Silverstone. Oops. It is Mr. Josh Owens. Hello, Josh. How are you? Thank you for taking a few minutes out of your evening. You can hear us okay, first of all?
Yeah, I can hear you fine, yeah.
Fantastic stuff. Right, so, Josh, Kiko Giles has a huge bag full of questions for you, all about, I guess he'll ask you himself as well. So Kiko is on with Josh right now. Go ahead, Kiko.
Josh, thanks for coming on the show. First of all, I hope you've dried out from Silverstone. That's the important thing before we go any further. Silverstone, absolutely soaking wet. Firstly, how was Silverstone from your point of view? And how was the setup to it? Because it's not the cheapest of things to do. A British Grand Prix wildcard is not cheap. So talk about the build-up to the event, first of all, and then talk about the event itself. How was it all from that aspect?
Yeah, I mean, obviously, it's not cheap to do because obviously the budget there is just so great. Obviously, you've got the use of tyres and, you know, they go through a lot more. And then you have to also rent one of their engines just to make sure that no one's cheating and stuff like that. We also have to use their ECU and stuff, so that's all covered in the budget. But, I mean, obviously when you go there, the setups are just totally different to, you know, BSB and stuff, and hospitality suites and all that's definitely another level. Obviously when you're in the garage and stuff, you have to make it look a bit more professional. But no, I mean, it was a good weekend, and it was good to be there and good to see what, you know, how the other half live, basically.
It is the pinnacle of the sport. I mean, I must admit, watching you in the wet warm-up on Sunday, I thought, hello, we're gonna have a bit of a shock here, because Sam Lowe's fourth, just going through the order now. Sam Lowe's fourth, 11th for Danny Kent, and then your name, Josh Owens, 13th, right in behind Brad Binder, who's won a race this year, ahead of the likes of Luca Marini, who's been on the podium in the last two races, Lorenzo Baldassari, who was a double winner this year already, Johan Mir off the MotoGP next year. There's some names behind you there that, you know, people would say on paper, who is this kid? And just talk to us about your story to the World Championship. Of course, you're in the GP2 class at the moment in Britain. You've been in the Junior World Championship with great success. So just talk to us a little bit about that and your path through your career at the moment.
I mean, when I started young, like we all have to these days in any sport. But I started when I was a young kid on like the Metrokit GP50s with FAB-Racing. Where the likes of Brad Ray came from, and you know, and Scott Redden started there when he was a kid, and just gradually moved up the classes from there, and then I ended up getting my license, my ACU license, which allowed me to go on to the bigger circuits. I did rode the Aprilia 125s, and then I moved from that on to the 125, which then allowed me the Honda RS 125. Which then allowed me to ride in British Superbikes in 2013, I think my first year in it was. And then I moved from that year into Mark Hodgson, Neil Hodgson's dad, team on the 125 in 2014. Struggled a bit that year with a bit of pressure and stuff. And the next year I rode my own bike, ran by me and my dad on the last year they ran the 125 championship. And it was a good year. Just enjoyed my riding again, and it sort of shown. And I won that championship, and then from there we bought a Moto3 and we ran that in 2016 in the British Championship. And I enjoyed that and learnt a bit. And then I got offered the ride in CEV last year. But it was on the same bike, and unfortunately we just didn't have the budget to go on something a little bit new, which meant we had to ride the 2013 Calyx, which had already been proven that it wasn't the best in even the World Championship, and people struggled. So we knew we were going to struggle when we got there, but you know, it was a good learning curve. Even just to be there and get there was amazing, really. Even if the bike wasn't competitive, it was just amazing to be there, and I learned so much, and it's, you know, made me a lot more of a mature rider, just riding there for a year. And then I came from there and moved back to the UK, got offered a ride with Ryan Saxelby on the Moto2, because it was all a bit, again, it was a bit last minute, always seems to be with me. They were talking about the rules and stuff, and they didn't know whether they were going to run it or not, and it all eventually came off that the rules were going to run how Ryan wanted them to run and how they should be ran, the Moto2 bikes. And then he sort of just came along, and he bought the bike, and it just all started from there, really. Like I say, we've had no data and nothing really this year, so it's all just been a massive learning curve for me. Obviously, learning how to ride the 600's totally different to the 125 and Moto3. And then obviously Ryan's also had to get his head around setting up a big bike, because it's totally different again setting that up to a small bike. And I've just slowly been getting there, and I think we are definitely starting to get there now, from both him learning how to set the bike up and me as a rider. We're definitely getting there. And then it was obviously
you came to prominence, I suppose, this year. Sorry, just to cut across you there. This year at Thruxton, that was when people really, I suppose, started taking this GP2 class a little bit more seriously. Was Thruxton? Did you come good at Thruxton? I mean, you was building up to, Brands Hatch was good. Thruxton was pretty sensational. Did Thruxton come at the right time for you, so you could get in the spirit for that home Grand Prix for Silverstone? Was that win timed pretty much to perfection?
Yeah, I mean, I think it definitely did help. I was struggling a little bit with self-confidence up until that point, really. Like, as far as my riding went, and it sort of took a bit of time and a bit of encouragement from my team, really, from Ryan, just to say you can do it. And it was only in that second race, it was all a little bit. I was sat there thinking, I can't do this, and then I just managed to get past Kyle, which was pretty easily, really. And then that was it. I just thought I'm just going to have to see if I can make it stick now, and I just kept on pulling away. But it just felt comfortable. It felt comfortable the last few rounds, like Brands, it felt easy, but I just couldn't seem to quite make it. I just couldn't seem to let it work the way I wanted it to. For some reason, like I said, when we were at Thruxton, it just seemed to all click together, and yeah, it definitely helped my confidence a little bit, and it just made the decision a little bit easier for both me and Ryan to decide that if I did turn up at Grand Prix, I wouldn't make a fool of myself.
With the GP2 class, obviously it's not a new thing for this year, but it's a lot. There's I suppose it is a new thing for this year. It was kind of tried and tested last year with Alistair Seeley. But it's come into its own little class now within the Supersport category. Do you see it taking over the Supersport category? Where do you see the future for GP2 racing in Britain, for example?
Yeah, I mean, definitely for sure. I think it's going to take off because it's a natural progression, really. For me, this year was just going to be on a stock 600, but I never really wanted to ride a stock bike or just a road bike, because I've always rode Grand Prix bikes and I've always wanted to stick with that route. So for the likes of the Moto3 riders who are riding in BSB, it allows them to make a natural step onto Moto2, which can then also keep the development going from, if you do want to ride in Grand Prix, that opportunity is still there because you're constantly riding Grand Prix bikes. Obviously the 600 market's dying down, obviously on the road due to the changing in regulations for the licence. So not many people are buying 600s. So there was a lot of talk about manufacturers stop producing 600s and so on. So it made it look like the class was a bit of a dying thing. And so that it was just the next step, really, the next big step. And then obviously with the class in Moto2 changing this year from Honda engines to Triumph next year, it means there's just going to be a massive market for the Moto2 bikes of now. They're going to start becoming up for sale a lot more cheaper than what they have been because teams are just want to get rid of them. So it'll turn out it'll just be as cost effective to run a Moto2 bike as it is to run a Supersport bike with tuned up engines and stuff. With our bike, you could basically go down to a scrapyard and pull a CBR 600 engine out of it and still be able to compete at the front.
They are the CBR 600, obviously quite an old bike as well. If you was to, away from Moto2, more back onto you as a rider now, if you was to give yourself like a 5-year target, where would you see yourself in 5 years? Where do you see Josh Owens being? What championship, with what achievements? What's the goal?
I mean, obviously, for sure, everyone wants to be at Grand Prix, don't they? And I mean, deep down, and after the weekend riding there, it didn't feel like I was out of place. It didn't feel like I couldn't be there. It felt like with a little bit of time and a little bit more work, with then obviously the tyres were totally different, which it just takes a bit of learning. It felt like I could have ran with, I could have been a contender maybe at that level. So for me, I really would love to be in there 5 years, and I think, try and get up there, and I think it could happen if everything falls to place with budget and money and stuff like that, and trying to just get in with the right people. But apart from that, I would just like to keep my racing career going. Obviously at the moment I'm still working as well as riding, but I'd like to be able to one day say that I'm a full-time rider, and obviously at the minute with work and training and riding, it all sort of is a bit much. So sometimes it feels like I'm putting in not as much effort as what I'd like to from the training side of things. You know, I wish I could just dedicate myself to my racing, and I'd like to say in a few years that's what I could do. But obviously, depending on money and stuff, where I end up, what championships and stuff, obviously, no matter what I enter in, I just want to be competitive, really.
Back to the British Grand Prix. Your race obviously got cancelled along with all the others. How would you think a bank holiday Monday race would have solved the issue? Do you think that a Grand Prix would have gone ahead then? How would you have made sure, or tried to make sure, that the racing carried on in some capacity?
I mean, for sure, it could have been possible to do, but unfortunately, for me, it was a big round and it was a big opportunity. But for them, it's just another weekend racing. It's like the SB races get cancelled all the time, and unfortunately, this thing happened. But for them, it was just a normal weekend away racing that just didn't go to plan. Whereas for me, it was a big disappointment. But they've obviously got a lot more things to sort. I mean, they've been testing this week at Aragon yesterday. So, you know, it meant they'd have had a day to get to Spain and set up with the bikes and stuff ready to test. So for them, they had a lot more logistics to sort, and it was more down to the fact that the factory teams just didn't have enough time to be able to race on the Monday, as well as going and doing the testing and getting to the next round, I think, more than anything, really. I mean, for sure, if they weren't testing and didn't have to go to another race, it could quite possibly have carried on running, but at the time, you know, they didn't have the time, and obviously the track conditions weren't great on Sunday, so they just couldn't. It wasn't possible, really.
How would you now, looking forward to next season's British Grand Prix, should there be one, of course, what solution is there now for Silverstone to host a British Grand Prix? Because surely Britain is not a country that gets sunshine throughout the whole year. We do have rain, and British circuits should be equipped with that. So how can Silverstone recover from this to host a MotoGP event in the future? For
sure, because really it wasn't Silverstone's fault. It wasn't anyone's fault, and the tarmac was good enough. I mean, obviously I was riding around in the wet, and I had loads of confidence in the grip levels, to be honest. It was more the standing water, which had been caused from bumps. Well, it wasn't so much bumps, and everyone struggled, and that's why we were even slower in the drive than what previous years. Everyone really, in all classes, was roughly 2 seconds off the pace. And I think that was just down to the ripples that had been caused in the tarmac. And I think it was just one of them things that we'd had a hot summer and the tarmac was fresh, and they ran Formula 1 there. And obviously Formula 1, the G-forces they create, I think it's just pushed the tarmac and caused it to ripple. And then obviously when it's rained, it's allowed the water to just settle in the bottom of it. And then when we've hit it, it's just aquaplane. But unfortunately, that's got nothing to do with the tarmac or the drainage. It's just the way the circuit has been formed, and no one can help that.
They can't. They absolutely can't. And do you think, with the decision that's been made today for the British Superbike paddock, so yourself next weekend, to run on the national circuit, do you think that is a good idea, or do you think that they should have tried and seen what it was like when they got there on the Wednesday and Thursday?
Yeah, I mean, I think Stuart Hicks is just obviously wanting to make sure that the show will always go ahead, because he doesn't want to disappoint the crowds and stuff, and obviously he's got TV to think about and rider safety also. If it does rain, and unfortunately it isn't safe to ride on the track, which you'll hit the brakes and speed up. So you sort of got to think about that. But I mean, if it's going to be a dry weekend, then yeah, it'd be a bit of a disappointment because we won't get to ride the full circuit. But then if there is a chance of rain, then at least we know the meeting will still go ahead.
Yeah, and it's important to get a meeting of some description going ahead than, you know, literally what happened with MotoGP and have the cancellation of the main race day. Finally, then, before we let you go, what do you see the target being for the end of the year? GP2 class champion, I suppose, be where your target is set at the moment?
For me, for the end of the year, I'd like to be able to claim the first title of the GP2 class, but also to be able to know that every weekend we can be a front contender in the Supersport class. and just show that the GP2 bike or the Moto2 bike is a competitive bike against them, which I think they are. And I think with just the right amount of time, setting them up and just finding the right setup and learning how to ride on properly. They definitely take a certain mentality and a certain riding style to be able to get one to work. But I think definitely that's just the aim, to win the GP2 class and then also prove that the bike can be a front runner in the overall category. And then, work on trying to secure a ride for next year and just see what can happen. Because, obviously we're coming to the end of the year and I still don't really know what I'm doing next year and what my plans are. There's a lot of things that just need to fall into place. And once they start falling into place and I know where I stand, that's when I can start working on obviously finishing this year off with a good ending and work on what I can do next year and which way to go.
Josh, it sounds promising for the future. We wish you all the best in your plans ahead and all of the best of wishes as well for your GP2 championship for the rest of the year. Josh, thanks for joining us on the Superbike Show on Motorsport Radio. Yeah,
no worries. And I'd just like to say a massive thank you to all the people who've actually got me to this point, if that's all right.
No, that's fine.
Obviously, there's Asco Engineering who I work for, and they allow me to have all the time off. And I know I'm a bit of a pain in the backside for it because I'm always away racing, but they still allow me to work there and pay me a wage and lets me keep living. There's obviously Metfloor, which is another big sponsor for me. Puteline UK, 151s, Spine Optics, P3 Tuning. XL Trucks, Euro Diesels, Oxford Products, HJC Helmets, Tower and Staff, Ashby and Croft, DSM, Direct Diesels and Commercial Services, all them people. And if I've missed anyone, I'm sorry, but everyone who's there, thank you very much for helping me, and especially Paul Owen and Annie Owen. I wouldn't be here without them, and just thanks to everyone and thanks to the team. Can't thank everyone enough, really. Thank you doesn't justify it. And,
Josh, thank you.
Motorsport Radio, the Superbike Show on Motorsport Radio.
Hello and welcome back. Live coverage now here from round 7 of the Cool Fab British Mini Bikes Championship here at Northamptonshire. Is the county. Whilton Mill is the circuit. It's the penultimate round of the series, round 7 out of 8, and just a few more races left of the year to go. We're under red flag conditions at the moment, so that gives us plenty of time for interviews and for special guests, and I'm joined at the moment by guest Brandon Pell. Brandon, brilliant to see you up here. Normally we see you out there. You probably should be out there at the moment, but of course red flag conditions. Tell us about your year so far, what classes you've been racing in, how it's gone for you. Sum up your year basically.
Well, I started off the year racing Extreme 200s and pit bike 140s. At the start of the year I had mad problems with my 140. I had carb problems, putting me at the back of the grid. I didn't make any progress, so we had to change our way of approaching the season. If it weren't for Gloucester Bike Specialists, though, I wouldn't even be here. Like, they done all my bike, my CRF, my 140. We started the season on the CRF really strong. It was my first outing on it on the Friday, and I finished up in 10th, not last, and we was expecting to be at the back of the grid really slow, so it was very positive.
It's been a positive year all round now. Said from the start, qualifying is good. Your race pace is always better. You always come good in the races. Why do you think that is?
I just get more determined as the weekend goes on. I see my lap times drop in, and I get loads of confidence, and I feel if I get my start perfect and I can get a couple of positions, I feel like I can just go forward and forward.
How's this weekend been for you? Obviously it's been brilliant weather, clear run at things, that always helps as well, no iffy conditions. A little bit of a stoppage now, but up until the point it's not been bad at all.
No, I felt really strong going into Friday, as this is one of my favourite circuits. We had problems on Friday with the tyres. We'd run out of soft tyres, and we had to make a decision what tyres we'd run. We had to run a scrub soft on the Friday, and we figured we was doing about 54 second lap times. But we put the new tyre in on Saturday Q2, and I got down to a 53.2. But during the race, I was battling with Will Howarth, and where we was going at it, I dropped a second to 52.2. So yeah, it was really positive.
In the PB140/motor team race, what's the biggest difference? You know, you'll say you're in a battle with a couple of motor team bikes and a pit bike 140. Obviously, there's lots of different characteristics with how those bikes are rode and how they're used to their advantages. What's the difficult point?
The difficult point is the bike has virtually no power. You've got to use all the momentum through the corner, and with me not being the skinniest lad, it's very difficult to get around these corners, being able to pick the bike up and just go like Max Cook and Spud Nesbitt does. And also I rode a 70 frame, whereas they rode Bambino, so my bike was about triple the weight, so in a straight line I was losing about 7 miles per hour.
And that's quite a lot. I know how you feel, by the way, not being the skinniest lad going around corners. Downforce, I put it down to. That's a good thing. We're coming to the end of the season. Not long left of the championship. 5 races if you take out yesterday's race, today's race that we should be having now, later on's race, and 3 races at Tattershall, the end of season in Lincolnshire. What would be a good result for you in them next 5 races? Where do you want to be in either class that you're in?
I'm not going to be racing the 140 anymore for the rest of the season, but in the Extreme 200s, our aim was top 10 in the championship, and at the moment I stand 5th. But sadly, with Alex being hurt and injured, that puts me up to 4th. But right behind me, I've got Josh Watley, so I need to just finish strong, get good positions, and I'll be perfectly in 4th place by the end of the year.
Are you looking forward to Tattershall as well? You've been there before last year, this year.
Yeah.
Second time going this year in October. Should be a good meeting.
I'm really looking forward to it, as last time it was coolish conditions in like mid-April time, but now it's going to be really sunny, and I feel like that plays to my advantage.
With the situation that we've got with Coolfab being the partner series to BSB on the road to MotoGP, do you see yourself having a career in motorcycle racing, or is this just a hobby for now? Where do you see it going and progressing?
I'm starting to progress forward. Like we've just gone and got a CBR 600 to be able to race in the future, but we're looking to Thundersport next year to maybe ride an SV650 and Mini Twins.
Okay, so Suzuki then for you guys. Thundersport a bit different as well.
Yeah.
It is proper superbike kind of super sport, that kind of level, but it's not at the national level. Just tell us a bit more about Thundersport.
I don't know a lot about Thundersport, but I've seen my friends like Jody Fieldhouse racer, and they recommended it towards me.
Okay.
Because my aim was to go next year into BSB Junior Supersport.
Okay.
But we feel like if I go onto the bigger bike, I won't have to be under the pressure of BSB. Whereas with Thundersport, it's a little bit more relaxed than BSB, so you've got more of a chance.
How do you see that Junior Supersport Championship coming along? It was introduced last year in the World Superbikes, but in this year to British Superbikes. It's looking good, numbers are up. Is it doing the job, though, trying to get more people out towards World Superbikes and looking more towards the production-based method of bike racing and not the prototypes?
I feel like it's a very positive championship because, as you know, last year Brodie Crockford raced here and he went on to an R3 and he's just done phenomenal things. Yeah. And I just feel like it's a very good championship, but I feel like I would struggle on one of them bikes.
Do you think that maybe another class could be introduced? Say, for example, the World Superbike Championship took away the Stock 600 class. Would it be worth putting in like a Stock 600 class, or maybe putting more money into a Stock 1000 class just for the future for riders? Maybe not for you now, but for when you're at like 19, 20, 21, that kind of age? I
feel like World Superbikes is very, very good. It's a very good championship, but it's just a bigger stage. BSB, so I feel like Superbikes, World Superbikes should just keep doing what they're doing. As if you get into Supersport in BSB, you look more to World Superbikes on a stock foul. Yeah, you look more towards maybe the Ben Currys of the world will look naturally to maybe go and try and do something in World Supersport, a bit like Andrew Irwin did last year. Obviously, good connections with the Moto2 Championship being in Britain now. Do you think that's going to change next year when MotoGP goes to the 765 Triumph? Because that's quite a leap from Moto3 to Moto2 for next year, but also trying to come off a Moto2 bike that's a little bit not as developed over in the UK, over onto the world scene, onto a bike that's totally different anyway. How's your thoughts on that? I feel like the Triumph's going to work really well compared to the Calyx chassis, because the Calyx chassis are very stiff, whereas when I saw James Toseland ride the Triumph, it was very smooth. And I've seen like the likes of Fabio Quartararo and Sam Lowes, they ride the bike very rugged, so I think that bike will suit them more. But people like, I don't know, Enea Bastianini going up to Moto2, I think that's going to be a struggle for them because they're going to go from a very small Moto3 bike up to a really big Triumph, so...
Do you think that might be like a scary aspect? If you look back through the years, I suppose you had the 125, 250, 500 progression. That when it became just them three classes, then it went to 125, 250 MotoGP on a 990. Then it was brought back to 800s. Moto2s came in, and then Moto3s came in. So the gaps have shrunk in scale, but now that big gap between lightweight class and intermediate class has got bigger again. Do you think that's a problem MotoGP needs to look at? Do we need to move more away from Moto3 250cc base bikes?
Yeah, I think the gap is really big. Like we see like Joan Mir and Alex Marquez struggle for their first couple of races, and it's just because of the amount of difference in the bikes and how they handle. But I think if they didn't change, I reckon it would have been okay. But with these new Triumphs, I'm not really sure.
Back to Cool Fab. How good of a learning school is Cool Fab? How does it prepare you, do you think, for the big championships out there? Brad Ray's obviously blueprint example of how it's done. So is Luke Mossey. Danny Kent has gone on to world champion status. Do you think Cool Fab is doing the right thing? It obviously has great heritage at the moment.
I think Cool Fab is really good. It's a very positive championship and it's run very well. Like, it's very organised. But I noticed British Mini Bikes, they were getting shops like Gloucester Bike Specialist and Factory 5 to sponsor classes, and I think that would be good going forward because in BSB you've got like the Superbikes is sponsored by Dickies. Yeah. So I think that would be a very positive thing going forward to maybe look into. If
you could go to one other karting circuit on the Cool Fab calendar, where would you like to go? Three Sisters up in Wigan is quite a popular one.
I would say Lyd.
Okay.
I think even though it's a very small paddock, I think Lyd's a very nice track. Like, I haven't personally been there, but I've heard from people like Spud Nesbitt that it's a very technical and nice track to ride. I don't think we should duplicate on track, so I think that's a bit... It's all right, but I'd rather go to one round every year and not have to go back.
And make it a bit more special and, you know, have a bit more alternation. If you was to look back at your season this year, what would be the round that you've struggled on?
I struggled really badly at Rowra.
Okay.
Since 2017 in the final race when I fell off in the rain, I've never had confidence there.
Okay.
I crashed a total of 11 times at Rowra this year between the two classes. And it was just a very, like, not nice track. I enjoyed the track, but I've just never gone well there.
Yeah, it is a technical circuit as well because it's fast chicane, hairpin. You didn't run the chicane there this year, did you? You went straight round.
Straight round, yeah.
And then you got like the is it St John's, the right-hander, where you crashed, I think, out of a podium last year.
Out of the win, yeah.
And then a left-hander, and then it's back round. It is quite a hard circuit to get around. But round, of course, they consider it the northern round, so I suppose people would say you have to go there. What about Clay Pigeon? That was new on the calendar this year. Lots of people really happy with Clay Pigeon and the layout of the circuit.
Clay Pigeon was definitely one of my favourite tracks from this year. It felt very... It was technical, but also flowing at the same time. Like, it was very... It was... If you went offline, you were in trouble, as we found out in the race. Yeah. And I really liked Clay Pigeon. I liked the atmosphere there. It was more... It felt more like a racetrack than a karting track.
That's always good as well. That's always a good professional outlook on some places. You know, you're not just rocking up to a rotting old kart circuit. I mean, we don't do that much over here anyway, but when you turn up to Clay Pigeon, everyone was very helpful, even with our side of things. Final question then, looking to the rest of the to the year, looking to go out with a big bang as well, hopefully in the right sense of the word. Next year, 2019, plans? What are we looking at?
We're struggling to decide what we do. We want to go to Thundersport, but I wouldn't be upset doing another year in Fab in the Extreme 200s, as I feel like as I could potentially be fourth this year, I don't see why I couldn't go on and push further and further. But it's the annoying thing about it is I'm the only person in the top 10 of the championship not to have a podium, so it's like
you need one.
So I want to come back and do it. I want to do it in style.
Brandon, all the best. Thank you for joining us here.
My pleasure.
Difficult conditions, obviously, with the red flag situation. we have got a couple of different aspects now.
I see he's up and walking.
Yeah, looking forward now. It looks like there is a bit more movement, but we will bring you all the official updates when they come to us here. Thank you for joining us here on Motorsport Radio. Lots more to come throughout the day. We're going to be talking to Jake Archer back on the Superbike show on Thursday now. So Jake Archer, the Motorstar Championship leader on the Moto3 series in Britain, is going to be on the show just now. The Superbike show from Thursday just gone with Jake Archer. Let's talk about the British Grand Prix for you. Back there again this year. Unfortunately, a little bit wet and no racing action. How was it from your perspective, the British Grand Prix 2018?
Well, it was probably the most difficult weekend we've had this year. I mean, we struggled all weekend with bike setup and we didn't really get it right until morning warm-up, but that was cut short with dry time. We only had like a lap and a half, but everything felt perfect compared to the rest of the weekend, so it was quite disappointing that the rain come when it did, because I think we'd found the setup and it would have been interesting to see what we could have done in the race.
You must also stress that you were coming in to the Silverstone round off the back of a pretty nasty crash at Thruxton after being taken out. How are things with your, I think it's an ankle injury that you picked up back at Thruxton? How are things?
Yeah, well, everything's it's a lot better now, but I'm still struggling a little bit doing a certain few things, but it's a lot better than what it was after Thruxton.
With the Silverstone British Grand Prix not going ahead, how do you go into the next round of British Superbikes? Do you think, well, never mind, that's behind us now, let's focus on getting this Motorstar Championship wrapped up, or are you extra motivated to put on a bigger show for the fans? How are you approaching the Silverstone round of the British Superbike Championship?
Well, probably with the way the British Grand Prix went, it probably motivated me a little bit more because I didn't have the opportunity to prove myself the way I wanted to. So if I come back to BSB and do it that way, then at least I can show that I can actually do it.
You was at the British Grand Prix, I believe, last year as well. How did the experience compare from 2017 to 2018? Do you feel a bit more comfortable on the bike? Did you feel more of a natural leader because you had Tom Booth Amos in your team last year as well?
Yeah, it definitely felt a lot more comfortable this year around, but I mean, it was 2 seconds slower than what I went last year, so the times were nowhere near what we should have done. But I mean, obviously it's disappointing, but I did feel a lot more comfortable and I felt like I should have been out there, whereas last year I was trying to soak everything in a bit too much and sort of enjoy the experience a bit too much, whereas this time I've gone to do a job and try to prove myself.
What do you have to do differently at MotoGP? The tyres might be a little bit different, everything's all a little bit different, the culture of the paddock's a little bit different. How do you adapt to that as a rider?
I mean, it's sort of hard to adapt to the way they ride as well because they just do things a lot differently, like just they get on the gas so much earlier and it's just hard to adapt the way you normally ride. Like I say, I've been riding for the past 3 or 4 years to adapt in a weekend how they ride and be able to do what they do. It's just hard to be able to do it. So I think it is difficult going for one weekend as a wild card to try and do everything and try to be up there with them lot when obviously the machinery is so different and yeah, it is difficult.
Was it harder this year in 2018 than it was in 2017? If you was to look at it from like from a competitiveness point of view, was it harder or easier or a little bit more the same?
It was a bit of both, really. I mean, in some ways it was easier because the pace was a little bit slower this year. So if I'd have had the setup right, I think I would have been like maybe top 20 and would have been there or thereabouts. So in that sense, it was easier. But obviously, because we didn't have the setup and we were struggling all weekend, so in that sense, it was harder. So it's sort of a bit of both, sort of easier and harder in a way.
Back into your main class for this year, the Motorstar class, how is that going? Obviously, we had a little bit of a hiccup at your home round down at Thruxton, but apart from that, championship leader, decent lead as well in the championship. Sure, you've got to be looking at being the champion at the end of it all in Brands Hatch in October.
Well, yeah, I mean, the season's pretty much gone nearly perfectly, obviously, apart from the little hiccup at Thruxton, but just the aim is now just to obviously beat Storm because he's my main title contender at the minute. So if I could just put as many points into him as possible and obviously get the championship wrapped up as early as I can. So hopefully he can go to Brands with a little bit of pressure off me and enjoy the weekend instead of having to ride and think about the championship and obviously not crashing and injuring myself.
With, say you were to be champion in the class this year. Where would you see yourself in 2019? Is it an option to stay in the UK? Will you be looking at the Junior World Championship, for example, maybe going over to Grand Prix full-time? Where would you see yourself next year?
Well, I mean, we have an option at the minute to stay over here and do Moto2, but ideally the plan is we want to take our team out to Spain. Obviously, I want to go out there, but I don't really want to go out in a Spanish team because the boys that have gone out there have sort of been buried out there. So I want to go out with our team because we know we can do everything. But, I mean, it's just cost. It's going to cost like £90,000 to £100,000 just for the year. So, I mean, obviously it's very difficult to be able to do it. And is that something that maybe the sport should focus more on, and that's trying to get costs down a little bit for the young riders like you? Because it is an extremely expensive sport. Motorsport in general is quite expensive, but bike racing, you know, we're always racking up high amounts of money to try and get entrance fees and whatnot. You hear some riders in leading superbike teams taking like over £110,000 to one team, and if not the rest. And what would you do to try and keep costs down a little bit for the younger talent? I mean, it's sort of hard because obviously the way things are now, you've got to spend the money to be on a competitive bike to be able to do anything and get noticed. So I think in this day and age, it's sort of hard to be able to keep the cost down. I mean, you just got to obviously get really good sponsors like I have. I mean, we're really privileged with City Lifting and Cavara projects because they put a lot of money into me in the last couple of years and just helped me out a lot to be able to have the machinery and be competitive. Obviously, be with an amazing mechanic like Ryan. Ryan has been around for a long time. Building a Moto3 bike and a 125 bike in the past, how good is he on that lightweight machinery? What are his best skills that keep turning a good bike in year after year? It's always going to be a winning package in some capacity. How does he do it? Well, I mean, it's sort of difficult because he just knows everything. I mean, you go to a track and you say it's like doing something, he just knows every bump at every track, and he just obviously was really good on working on the 125. It took him a couple of years to get his head around the Moto3, but now he's got his head around it. He's incredible. It's just his knowledge and everything. He's just unreal. He is a bit of a whiz. I've got to give him that. You know, been able to. I mean, I think he rode his own bike a few years ago. So you know, and he rode that pretty well. So he is a very, very good rider and mechanic and builder of bikes. Back to the kind of more the grassroots level, Cool Fab, of course, is where you've been before. How much does Cool Fab help the young riders get to where they need to be for the future? You've seen a load of riders come out there, such as Bradley Ray, Scott Redding was at FAB-Racing once upon a time, as was Danny Kent. How good of a grassroots kind of breeding ground is Cool Fab? I mean, it's sort of, I mean, back in the day it was perfect because obviously you have all the talent there that was coming through, so obviously you're learning off everyone. I think it's probably better now because BSB, they're obviously involved with BSB, so you've got all the big teams sort of like involved in it as well. So I think it's just a massive gateway through to the British paddock, and then God knows, like, you see what happens from there. You could get taken on to, let's say, Junior World Championship or something. So, do you see yourself coming back and maybe doing like a one-off adults race anytime soon, or is it purely focusing now on going up through your career onto the world stage? Well, I think, say once I've got the championship wrapped, I could probably go back and do a couple of races on the pit bike or something. But no, I definitely would like to go back and just, you know, go back to where I've come from and just show my face and that. I asked Josh the same question. If you was to give yourself